Hey guys, welcome back to the TrinFx channel. I know it's been a minute since we actually recorded a video, but we're back at it again. I'm really going to be trying my best in order to keep things moving along. It has been a hectic few months for me with a lot of family stuff going on, and everything just, it wasn't the right time. I wasn't getting time to actually sit down and record videos, whether it was the analysis or anything on camera to put up here on the YouTube channel. But we are back and we are consistently going to be posting videos and also looking at the markets. So we're going to dive straight into it. I'm back right here on the charts. So taking a quick look, as always, I'd like to start with the fundamentals. All right. So fundamentally, and let me just sign in here. All right, so fundamentally we have a few stuff coming up, right? We have FOMC minutes, I believe, on the Friday. Let's take a look for this week coming up. I already marked out the majority of things that I am paying attention to. We have on the Tuesday, all right, so Monday we don't really have much happening. We have some Fed speeches, but on the Tuesday is when things start to kick off, right? So we have the new home sales numbers coming out for the US. We also have NCD retail sales and also interest rate decision, right? So we have a couple of things coming up here. The interest rate decision is something that I would be looking to pay attention to see what price does here for the NCD, as well as on the Wednesday we do have inflation for the GBP, right? Inflation expected to stay the same, so we'll most likely should see a downward movement on the pound itself, and I would like to compare both the pound and the NCD for the best possible gains, and we will take a look at the chart to see really what we can get out of that. All right, besides that, we also have the ECB non-monetary policy meeting, so this is something I'll also take a look at. And we have FOMC minutes. Sorry, on the Wednesday we have FOMC minutes. This is a high impactful news that's coming out at 2 o'clock in the evening EST. We also have jobless claims for the Thursday, right? So jobless claims, expecting for the numbers to be a little bit higher, right? And as you would know, with jobless claims, the amount of people in the US applying for unemployment, right? If this number is higher than expected or it's higher than the previous, then that is bad for the US economy, right? It's viewed as a bad thing by having higher numbers. Usually you want to have these numbers lower, right? We also have retail sales to the AD, something I'll pay attention to as well. And we have a lot more news here on Friday with PCE and price index and stuff like that. Personal spending for the US economy, right? So we have quite a bit of news coming up. Like I said, I'm not going to be overly trading, as these past couple of weeks, for the past 2 to 3 weeks, trading has been very subpar, so to speak, using my strategy that I do employ. So I've been more patient and more reserved on the terms, like in terms of what trades I do take, and more conservative, right? So diving into it, right, this is one trade I'm looking at. I'm very interested in the USD pairs. Okay, we saw the US dollar taking quite a move to the upside. As you can see here, we had this large movement to the upside, and this one is due to this one is due to also that we had the debt ceiling being raised higher, right? And we're seeing a positive turn on the US dollar, right? This could be, we're seeing this on the DXY here. So we had a positive move to the upside. Now it's a question as to whether we're going to see that continuation to the upside, breaking out from this overall downward movement that we were seeing previously, or is this just going to be an area where we see the dollar strength actually continue plummeting further downwards? Now again, we are going to be paying attention to the news that we do have coming out for the US economy. I believe at the last statement made from Fed Powell, right? Jerome Powell, one of the Fed representatives, right? It was more so on the positive side, leaning to more labor market stability, as well as the reason as to why it had such high inflation being caused from different factors not really controlled by the Fed, right? So they were talking about price stability and some of the outside underlying factors that really affected inflation, and as to what the Fed can do in order to mitigate that and meet their goal, right? Overall, there was more so of a positive turn, and the Fed is still continuing to be more, they're still continuing to be, on objective in terms of getting inflation back to that 2 to 3%. So overall, pretty good in terms of the news that we did have from Fed Powell on that speech, right? So continuing forward, I do expect to see the dollar continue with this upward bullishness, right? As we came into this supportive level here on that recent uptrend, we can see, right, or we can wait to see that upward movement, right, for that continuation higher. Now, in terms of that and the USD pairs, what I'm interested in is the relation between the euro and the US dollar, right? So as you can see, if we're taking it from a purely technical perspective, we have clean formations to the downside, really nice levels here on the euro USD cross pair, right? So taking that into account, I am looking to see a further fall in favor of the US dollar here on the euro pair. For the euro economy, we do have some underlying bad, well, not to say bad, but we do have some underlying fundamentals really impacting the euro dollar itself. So, and overall, it is looking like a bearish sentiment to me, and therefore I am more interested in seeing this sell side continuation, happening, right? So for Euro USD, I'm interested in that Euro CAD as well, looking for a continuation to the downside as we do have clean formations here, right? If we take a look on the daily, right, take a look here on the daily of the Euro CAD pair, I am looking to more likely see a continuation to the downside. Now, if you want to be more conservative and you want to be more patient and wait, as you can see, we did have this upward push here. So if you want to, you can wait to see a full turnaround of this, right? Meaning that we see price fall even further back into this sort of a zone and then break to the downside and then get clean continuation slower, right? Now this is a daily chart, so this would happen over the period of, a course of days to come. But in terms of where we are at right now, in recent timing, I do think this is more of the likely scenario to see price maybe come back and target into this the daily zone, daily support zone, major support zone down here, right? So this is somewhat of a target that I'll be looking at, right? All right, so this is something that I think, price has the ability to come back down into these levels here. All right, provided that we don't have any influx or any spur of the news for both the CAD and the US dollar, right? Yeah, this is what I'm really more interested in. Like I said, I'm being very conservative with the amount of trades I do take and the trade setups I do take. If we take a look at AUD-USD, right, you can see the sort of the technical, on the technical side, the price action isn't as clear as your USD, right? So you can see the difference here. It's really not as clear as that, and same goes for AUD CAD, right? So the AUD CAD is it's more clear than AUD USD. We do have nice formation to the downside. However, in terms of gains that we can get, or the amount of yield that we can get from this, I would say would be less than if we take a look at EUR-CAD, just because of the overall perspective that we do have here, right? We have clean levels, we have fundamentally more of a bearish bias on the euro and more of a bullish bias on the CAD with the recent news that we did have coming out, and same goes for EUR-USD versus AUD-USD, right? So that is something that I'm paying attention to. This year, CAD JPY, it's tricky to say really with the JPY pairs, because as we do have a lot more negative or a lot more bearish sentiment in the market when it comes to so like the global state, right, of the economy, the economic global state, right, we would see the Japanese yen pick up pace, right, whether that's between euro or dollar weakness, right, or any major currency weakness, usually more so with the US dollar itself, we would see the Japanese yen actually pick up and, gain momentum to the downside, right? And well, in this case, gain momentum to go down further, right? So that is something to take into consideration. So on the yen cross pairs, I'm not really too interested in those until maybe we have a good catalyst, such as on the Friday, right? The Friday and I believe the Friday and the Thursday, right? If we do see the jobless claims actually being higher, and we actually see like the PCE price index actually coming out lower, or whatever the case is, then that would be a good indication to possibly buy the yen, as we would see it actually pick up steam, right? So sometimes you have to use the fundamentals in regard to your technicals to help, at certain points you can gain momentum on a trade. And that is one of the ways that you could utilize it. If we do have bad numbers for the US economy, usually we see investors flee from the dollar itself and they'll go towards the more safe haven pairs, such as the yen or the Swiss franc, right? Or that would be the CHF, as you would see it here, right? So that is something to keep in mind as well. So continuing forward, okay, you can see here, right? So CAD CHF, like this strong sell off to the downside here. CAD JPY, same thing. And I believe this was during the FOMC, sorry, not FOMC, but during the Fed Powell speech, right? We saw price pulled up and then it started gradually pull back down, as during speeches, stuff like that tends to happen. All right. Besides that, again, I'm very interested in the NZD pairs to see, price actually pull to the downside in favor of the NZD, right? So taking a look here on GBP NZD, if we take a look at the daily time frame, right? We can see on the daily time frame, if we just mark out some zones, this is a significant high here. We saw price touch this around this area here. This was the 18th of October 2022. Right, and price came down from that level. Gradually we came back up, unable to surpass and hold that level to the upside, right? Price rejected, and now we're sitting right into this area. Now looking closer, if we're taking a closer look here on the daily time frame, we can see that, all right, we had multiple rejections from the upside here. Price pulled up, came into this zone, we pulled down back into this area here, right? And then we rejected, right? So gradually we see that, okay, this has become an area of significance that we should pay attention to, and we're now seeing price coming back into this area. Now again, what would be a good point of entry, whether to buy or sell? Well, we have two things coming out. The major thing coming out firstly is that NZD news, right? Looking to see rates increase by 0.25 basis points, right? So with that being said, that usually is generally a good thing for a currency when interest rates are raised higher, right? Especially with times of high inflation. To combat high inflation, they raise rates. And the NZD, the New Zealand economy, right? They don't really raise rates like that. The last time they raised rates was a while ago. So that being said, this should be a shock to the market, right? We should be able to see a swing to the downside, a positive swing for the NZD. Now, again, this is all a possibility, a speculation as to what could happen. We won't know what will happen until it does come out and we see how the market reacts. But again, when we're trading, we're dealing with possibilities and statistics. And statistically, that is the likely scenario that happens most of the times, right? So if we're taking that from a fundamental perspective and as well as a technical perspective, we've seen that price came back into this level. Now, it would be difficult to say as to when that entry should happen. Should we enter it immediately right into this level here? No, because we saw how much of a significance this area holds currently, right? So with that being said, one thing that we'll have to wait for is either price pushes lower down, giving us that sell signal in favor of the NZD, or if we're going to see a rejection, buyers step in, try to maintain this level for the pound, and price starts to go back up, right? And at that point, there's two things that could happen, right? If price starts to go back up and we hit back up into this level, we already know how significant this level is, and price has a hard time passing this level. So if interest rates do come out while we're up here, then at this point, I would say it's best to possibly sell, right? Because that is the likelihood of if that scenario does play out and interest rates do come out, then this is a likely scenario, the more likely scenario to see played out, right? Vice versa, same thing. If price does push lower here, that gives us more of a confirmation that we have more sellers in this market in favor of the NZD. And interest rates raising will just increase that favorability for the NZD itself, right? At which point price should push lower. Right, if we're looking at target areas, I would say this is one possible area here, as we had multiple rejections from here, strong rejections. And if price does push lower, then these are more other significant levels to take a look at, right? Hopefully that's not, too confusing or anything. Again, we're dealing with possibilities. With that being said, this is more so like something I'll pay attention to and see whether or not we have that sort of movement. If price pulls up here, then I'll be looking to sell as, the interest rate decision does come out, right? But if it pulls lower, then at that point, I would still be looking to sell, right? As it just confirms the possibility of seeing that sell side pressure continue, right? Besides that, not really much else to take a look at, right? NZD card something this would be very yeah, you can't really say much onto what would happen here because the card is strong as well as the NZD. We saw this sort of play out last week, right? We saw the card just kind of got bullied by the NZD coming to the end of the week, right? So let me just remove this, right? So I'm not too certain on this, so I would stay out of that because in terms of directional bias, I am more favored on the card side. However, we don't know how the interest rates would impact the NZD, right? That might just cause price to push to the upside, meaning this just doesn't make sense as a trade to take. If you have two strong currencies and there's not a directional bias in terms of the fundamentals, whether one is weaker than the other, then you're just putting yourself in trouble and asking to lose money from the markets, right? So it's always nice to have a directional bias as far as fundamentals go, knowing as to, okay, this currency strength is less than the other, this one is stronger than the other, vice versa, right? It's good to have that as well as applying your technical knowledge, whether you're using plain old price action, support resistance, a Bollinger Band strategy, using SRC, smart money concept, or smart Raja concepts, whatever the case is, right? Having that fundamental bias would really help in your technicals because now you're just waiting for your levels to line up in direction to whatever your fundamental bias is, right? So if you have both of them agreeing with each other, then the likelihood of that scenario to play out it increases, right? The possibility of it actually playing out increases. And that's the thing with trading, you're dealing with statistics, you're dealing with probability, right? If you have a working strategy that works for you, again, that is a probability. Let's say out of 10 trades, right? You win 8 out of 10 trades, 6 out of 10 trades for a 1 to 2 risk to reward. That's also probability. Now you have things in your, you have things, right? Tools available to you, whether it's your understanding of fundamental analysis, technical analysis, whether you're using a bot, whatever the case is, you have tools to help increase that probability, right, of you winning your trades. And that's all what it's about. All right. A lot of people like to say that trading is gambling, and this, that, and the other is all about luck and chance. But it's not. It's something that's it's mathematically proven, right? That you have the chance, you have the ability, you have the opportunity to actually win in this market, win in this environment, right? Once you do set some sort of a strategy, some sort of tool in place to help you secure your profits and, continue helping you progress in your trading, right? So that's me departing some knowledge here, guys, after all this time away from the YouTube channel. So I think that's it for me, right? Again, I'm being very conservative with the amount of things that I'm paying attention to, because for the past 2 weeks, the trading has really been hit or miss because of all the other fundamental data, all the other fundamental stuff going on in the economy, as well as we have the other major economies. Sorry, my tongue is tying, guys. Right? We have other major economies moving away from the US dollar as the world reserve, using their own currency, as well as, just getting away from the dollar. So we have a lot of things going on impacting markets right now. So with the trading strategy that I do implement, I'm not a scalper or anything like that. Um, so it's really, maybe 1 minute here and 1.5% profit, next minute you're on 0.5% near break even. And that's just how it goes sometimes, right? So we're being conservative, we're sticking to the strategy, and we're sticking to our risk per week. And that really helps in terms of the trading. Because last week, right, the week that has now passed at the time we're recording this video, right, I made over 20%, and yeah, that covered for the past 2 weeks of trading, where I lost around 8% in total, 6% in 1 week, and then 2% in the other, right? So you could see this is just part of trading. Sometimes you have to have patience. Sometimes you just have to, you know, have patience with yourself and with the market itself. Don't chase the trades. Don't allow your losses to affect your decision making process, right? Stick to your strategy and do what you're doing consistently, and you will reap the rewards from that. All right, guys. So thank you for joining this video. As you see, just a couple of things I'm watching more so on the Europeans right now. And yeah, I'll keep you guys informed as the week does continue. I am trying to be more proactive with the YouTube channel as well as posting. So thank you guys for joining in. I really do appreciate your patronage. If you're new to the channel, then please leave a like and subscribe on this video, and check out all the other videos that I do have to help you in your trading journey. Yeah, and that's it. See you guys in the next one.